What's next for Bytes around Copilot?
I think we've seen agents become really powerful.
Absolutely.
I mean, coming back to people and their processes and the challenges that they have, I think agents we've already seen, I think, some really impressive stats in terms of businesses adopting agents, Agentic AI, you might have heard the term. And this is where you're taking a process and then using AI to do a specific task. So we've seen, for example, fraud detection agents that have been created for pets for home to help with processes and using their standard metrics that they're using already to then train the agent to identify these specific pieces, capturing the evidence and then coming back to people again for the people to make a choice, a considered choice as well as to particular cases that's happened. You've been involved in some great agent ones with NHS.
So two things, I guess, to mention. One, service desk agents. They've been spoken about lots, where Bytes are now kind of going into the realm of creating agents to essentially let the people who actually work here quicker evaluate what their issues are, get some information from an agent that says, here's what you're experiencing, here's the first 3 things to try without actually going and speaking to the service desk, but actually then also improving the experience of someone raising a ticket. As good as the systems that we've got are, if you can go onto an agent or a chatbot and enter 2 or 3 bits of information and do it in a quarter of the time, that's a better experience for everyone. So I think that's something that we're doing that's going to be really, really good.
And I think just to add to the agent side, I absolutely agree with what the guys are saying. The thing to be aware with agents is it's the quality data. So rather than you're pointing at your entire network of data, which could be years worth of data, you've got that finite control so that you can add that in. And it can absolutely do what we're saying. So if you want to point it at a knowledge base of information, or you want to put it at your company policies, which is another area we're looking at doing, you can absolutely do that. The one thing to consider is the governance that sits around that. So suddenly you've got a set of data that you then need to manage and control, because if you drop incorrect data in there, or you don't have enough data in there, you can then start to get some challenges where you could get hallucinations, as an example, where there's not enough data in there. So I think the key points there is the governance around it, which is straightforward in SharePoint. You can put some permissions and get all of that to put the data in there. And then secondly, once you've got the data in there and you're keeping it under control, you then need to think about how it's going to be used. And Gartner did a speech at one of our recent events where they were talking about synthetic data. So data that AI is not necessarily going to have seen, therefore it won't recognise, as part of that kind of language model, if you like. So how do you feed it? And an example we saw was one with our whole company meeting. So you could go and ask it to see what was talked about in the whole company meeting. And one question somebody asked is, when's the next meeting? There was no agenda in there with the next meeting. So its result was, it's last year, because that was the date it found. So again, thinking about the kind of things that the customers are going to use it for, and making sure you feed it with that kind of information, because when you have done it, it's fantastic. So allowing lots of people to create the same agent with different data on their own could be quite a big challenge, but actually putting the control on it so that you publish it to all your employees, you'll get so much value out of that so quickly, and that's a big thing.
It's a really good point, actually, Andy. I think one of the things I'd want to impress on everyone that we talk to about agents, I almost feel like agents are in the same position that Copilot was 12 months ago when we were considering it as a tech thing. It's not. Agents are for everyone. They don't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be, low code. It can be no code. You can create an agent in 5 minutes. Absolutely, the governance piece is really important for admins and for the organisation to understand how to control this. I almost wouldn't say, I wouldn't want anyone to be put off by that, I suppose. In the same way that you wouldn't want to put people off of Copilot, M365 Copilot, by considering the security implications of it. So the thing I'd want to, I guess, to say to everyone would be, agents are for everyone. Agents can be controlled relatively easily for the most part. Create them, use them, integrate them into the business. It is the next big thing, right? It's where Microsoft are going. It's where we're seeing the market go. Agentic AI is incredibly powerful, and that's when we start to get into some of the automation pieces as well, and that's where it can become, hugely beneficial, even more so than regular Copilot in some respects. So yeah, Copilot agents are for everyone.
So it's just having that awareness that in some instances you might want to control, and as Callum says, in others, if it's for you or just a smaller one, then absolutely just get on and use it.
Yeah.
But having that in the back of your mind always when you're doing it is really key.
Yeah, but the worst thing to happen would be if you have an agent that's created, the person who created it leaves 12 months later, and there's no documentation or governance around that, and no one understands how the agent works.
Or where the data is.
Or where the data is, and it's business critical. So yeah, the governance piece absolutely is a good point.
There is off-the-shelf agents as well, isn't it, that Microsoft have created themselves that you can easily hook into your systems and environments. There's the project manager agent, for example, that will easily capture kind of risks and actions during meetings, and then automatically upload those into Microsoft Planner. So that's a nice little one to use quite quickly. There's the research agent that's coming out shortly as well. Whereas at the moment, Agentic AI or Copilot is responding in quite quickly. In a few seconds, you could have a document that's created, or it's captured your meeting minutes and notes. Whereas the research agent is actually going to go off and look at white papers around particular technologies and studies, and not give you that instant response, but it's more valuable time because it's saving you time in looking at those white papers. It also shows you which white papers it's looking into and which studies it's looking into, so you're informed on that process, and then maybe say after 5 or 10 minutes you've then got something that's really quite comprehensive in your research.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you very much for coming to chat to me today. I'm looking forward to finding out where we are in 12 months' time and using more of the agents.